loves, welcome back to Vickky Loves You, cause I do. I hope you enjoyed the previous video of Jacob getting his wisdom teeth taken out. If you haven't seen that, definitely watch it after this video. So today's video is do's and don'ts when planning a wedding. Even if you have 6 months to plan or 1 year to plan, there's a lot of things that are unsaid that I was in the dark when planning my wedding. So if you want the do's and don'ts, then continue watching. Okay, so this is definitely going to be a series because there's so many elements that goes into planning, regardless if you're planning for 6 months or 1 to 2 years. There's so many elements. So I definitely am going to make this into a series, and we'll start with like the basics and then go into depth. Okay, so first things first, you and your fiance need to come up with a budget and stick with the budget. And let me tell you guys, weddings are not cheap depending on how extravagant you want it and how big you want it. It gets pretty pricey. So when planning a wedding, there is going to be a lot of people that tell you, don't waste that money on that, don't waste your money on that. Instead, go on a great vacation, put money down on a house. All of people's opinions are going to be coming your way once you get engaged. First things first, if you and your husband have an agreement and your dream was always to have a nice wedding, then stick with that. Don't let people drift you away from that. Now, if you're more of a gal that's like, I just want to get married and don't care about the rest of the things, then yeah, of course, go spend maybe $2,000 on a wedding and spend the rest on a house or spend it on a honeymoon. But don't feel discouraged or feel ashamed if you want to put more money into a wedding. Even though it's one day, those memories last forever. And that is something that if you get a videographer or a photographer, you'll be able to share with your kids and their kids. So let me put that aside. Don't let people's opinions dictate your decisions. So once you come up with a budget with your fiance, make sure y'all stick to that budget. If there is any hidden cost to like further down in the engagement and planning, then you need to really make a list of the things that you're okay without and the things that you're absolutely not okay without. So for me, one thing that I did not budge on was the venue, videographer, and photographer, because those were very important to me, because you want to get a really good photographer and you want to get a really good videographer, because those are the memories that are going to last forever. And you want to get a really nice venue, because when you have a nice venue, you don't have to put too much money in decoration because the venue speaks for itself. That's my way of thinking. And then the things that I was like, I don't really care about is the cake, the food, the dress, the bridesmaid's dress, the suits. Those are the things that I was like, I'm okay with being budget friendly. So let's move on to the next. Okay, so first do is make a budget with your fiance. First don't let other people's opinions dictate what you do or plan for your wedding. Second do is make a list of the things that you can live without and the things that you absolutely can't live without. And don't feel ashamed to ask for help. I know when me and Jacob got engaged, and even before, I was like very determined that we're gonna pay for everything. I'm not gonna ask a dime from my parents or family members. But at the end of the day, it's okay to get help. Of course, you're not gonna be those type of people like, hey, you remember that time I helped you out? This is your time to repay me. No. It's okay to ask family members for help and sponsorships. In most situations, they're wanting to help you guys and they want to contribute in any way possible. So don't feel ashamed to ask for help. That is one big don't. Another do is, if you're a person that likes to do it all yourself, that is a-okay. but I highly recommend hiring a day of coordinator, or if you're a person that gets scatterbrained with planning stuff, especially a very important event, then get an event planner. It is definitely an investment. There's not very affordable day of coordinators out there or event planners, but it is worth every penny. I am telling you, the day of your wedding, you don't want to have to worry about vendors coming late. You don't want to have to worry about the grooms forgetting X, Y, and Z. You don't want to have to be downstairs decorating with your bridesmaids. That morning is for you to enjoy your time with your girls, your mom, your aunts, your grandma, your mother-in-law, sister-in-laws. Like, it's a time for you to relax before you are making a big commitment in like 2 to 3 hours. So highly recommend getting an event planner or a day of coordinator. And please don't try to get one of your family members to do it because you are trying to stay in the budget, because your families want to enjoy that day with you. This is a very big day. You're saying I do to your forever. They're welcoming a new member to the family. So I highly recommend getting an event planner or a day of coordinator. Don't. So a big don't is, don't push off small details. I know when I was planning my wedding, definitely was the most stressful time of my life, just gonna put that out there. But I put the small details to the side, and then in the last month, the wedding month, I freaking winged it and bought everything I needed to. Space out your purchases and those small purchases. If you are planning on doing disposable cameras for your guests, split that cost into months prior or weeks prior to your wedding, just so that you're not putting $500 down in one day. Spread it out, and so you're less stressed and you don't have a lot on your to-do list the week before the wedding, because usually a week or a month before the wedding is when you have your bridal shower, your bachelorette party, the bachelor's party, so you don't want to be stressed during those trips. So don't wait the last minute for small details, because they will bite you in the behind. Okay, so this is for my brides. When picking your bridesmaids, take that seriously. Don't just invite everyone in your friend group to be your bridesmaid, because bridesmaids have an important role. They are like literally your backbone throughout the process of planning your wedding and being engaged. If anything, you want those friends that show up. You want those friends that always have your back. You want those friends that when you ask for help, they don't hesitate to help. You don't just want the friends that you've been friends with forever, but y'all never really talk, or they're never really there for you when you need them. No, you want those friends that are always there for you, because when it comes down to, planning a wedding, some people have different experience, but for me, it was the most stressful time of my life, because I was trying to do it all on my own, and it was hard because a lot of my bridesmaids were out of town, and the bridesmaids that were close by, they weren't always available to me, and that sucked because I was going through it alone. Yeah, I had my sister, I had one of my other bridesmaids, Ariel, that made a really impact in my life, because they were there every step of the way. But it would have been nice to have a whole crew or a whole gang to, support me throughout that process. Now, when it came down to the wedding day, those bridesmaids that were out of town stepped up. They were there, they were doing their tasks without any questions. They were doing it with a joyful heart, because they were happy for me, and they were there for me, and they loved me and my husband's union, and so they were supportive 100%. They showed up because they knew they couldn't show up, the months prior, so they showed up on my wedding day and the day before, and they did the thing. So I'm grateful for my bridesmaids. But when you're picking your bridesmaids, really think about that. Don't just pick anybody. Like, it's an important role, and you want them to make your life a lot easier, not more stressful. So, since we're on the topic of bridesmaids, here's a don't for families that are a lot more tradition. Don't feel obligated to put family members in your wedding party. That, I don't know when that tradition started, but at the end of the day, you want people in your bridal party that are happy for you, that love you, that encourage you, that are, praying for you, praying for your union or your future union. You don't want people there just because they feel they're obligated to be there. You want them to be there because they're happy for you and they're excited for your new journey. So for brides out there that feel the pressure of maybe your in-laws or even your parents about putting your sister in the wedding or your sister-in-law in the wedding, or even having to put girlfriends of the cousins that are in the wedding, like, don't feel that pressure. At the end of the day, this is you and your husband's wedding, not your mom's, not your dad's, not your in-laws. It's just you and your husband. So I 100% got your back. If you need to tell them, well, Vickky Loves You said blah blah blah, and they're like, who's Vickky Love? Just tell them to call me or text me, because at the end of the day, it is your wedding and your husband's. It's nobody else. Regardless if they're helping you financially, this is y'all's wedding. And the last thing you want to do is have someone there that does not support you and your husband. The point of the bridal party is to support you, make your day easier, and you want to be happy and smiling and having fun. You do not want drama on your big day. Alrighty, so those are like the basics, do's and don'ts. I definitely want to go into depth in with like decorations, floral, catering, DJ, venue, all of that good stuff. But that will be in the second video. I just want to kind of give you some do's and don'ts, and encouragement in case you're dealing with some of the do's and don'ts right now. And I also want to say congratulations on your engagement. I'm so excited for you, even though I don't know who's watching this that is engaged. I'm just very excited because marriage is so precious, and you can do so much with your marriage, especially honoring God with it. So I'm super excited for you, and just take a moment to breathe in and breathe out. And I know God is faithful, so if you are struggling with how we're going to pay for this, or struggling finding the perfect venue or finding the perfect photographer or videographer, just leave it in God's hand and give it to God. I know when I was searching for a venue, I prayed because God knew my budget and God knew what I wanted, and God came through, and He always does. And sometimes you just gotta give those little small things to other people, but it's big to God because it's big to you. So I just encourage you, those things that you're stressing over while planning a wedding, give it to God, because God will come through. So stay tuned for part 2.